Hey, what's up? It's Eric here. Facebook.com/Eric the Conqueror or YouTube.com/user/TheSandman047. It is Tuesday, October the 1st, 2013. I'm actually just on my way to CAD and I'm on the highway and I got to thinking, you know what's ridiculous? The speed limits. And reminds me of a funny quote. I think Carlin once said this. Have you ever noticed that anybody going slower than you is an idiot, and anybody going faster than you is a maniac? Anyways, yeah, that's just a funny little thing on say. But I've noticed. I was watching this thing on speed limits the other day too, and it's a fucking scam. Like, the speed limit for this Highway 91 that I'm on is 90. And then at certain parts it actually drops to like 50 or 60 or something. Yeah, 60 on like this Queensboro Bridge. And it's fucking ridiculous. Like, who the fuck goes 60 kilometers an hour on a highway? I'm sorry, I haven't seen anybody do that. And the thing is, there's been numerous studies that show that that crashes actually occur when people, it's not when people are speeding, it's when there's a difference, when there's a deficit or a surplus in the people's speed. And like, it's usually the people who cause the crashes are the idiots, like going like 30 kilometers under the speed limit, or the ones going 40 above the speed limit, the maniacs. And just gives me, and it just makes no sense to me. Why the hell would for instance, the on Marine Drive, the speed limit is 60. That is a fucking highway. I've never seen anybody go 60 there. Most of the time people rip it there at around like 90 to 130, I've seen regularly. So it just gets me, like, a speed limit isn't like if you have ever taken economics, you know that there's a price floor, there's things called price floors and price ceilings, and those are put in place to control the market because to prevent excessive buying and to drop. Regardless, I'm getting off topic here, but a price ceiling, it doesn't work unless it's high enough. Like, a price ceiling that's above, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say though, but a speed limit won't work if people don't think it's a limit. Like, if I'm looking at this road and I'm thinking 60 kilometers an hour and I'm going 90 on it and I'm driving slower than most people on it, it's not a fucking limit anymore. It's not a limit at all. It's like, and it just doesn't make sense to me. The limit should be exactly that. It should be a limit. It should be high enough so that most people, 75 to 85% of people observing the limit will fall under that limit. So, like, I think 110, 120 is a reasonable, like, limit for most highways. And, like, if you think about it, if you go to Germany, their highways have no speed limits. And, like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there should be no speed limits. I'm saying the speed limit should reflect the cars that we have and the rate at which we're traveling at. Like, you know, we're busy people now, and, like, yeah, of course, during traffic time you go slower, but that's not because the speed limit's there. During traffic time you go there because of the congestion. And speaking of congestion, my sinus is a little bit clogged, which happens during the winter because of the heat. And yeah, so as I was saying, and it's just asinine to me. Like, why would you set a speed limit that 95% of people are gonna ignore, which by and large people do. People do not follow the speed limit and choose how fast they're going. They observe the conditions around them and then slow down or speed up accordingly. Like, on a bright sunny day, like at in the middle of summer when this road is clear, or a bright summer night when the road is clear, people are gonna speed. Like, I've done it. I've zipped right through. You just zip right through. Like, you can, as far as the eye can see, if you have clear road as far as the eye can see, you're just gonna step on it. And then, as a difference, when there's congestion and, like, when cars are a little bit more packed together, you're gonna slow down a little bit. And it's kind of like there's kind of, I found that there's a carryover effect too when it comes to driving. It's like, if people around you are going a little bit slower, you're gonna drive a little bit slower, and you're gonna sweep. You're gonna weave. If you're really in a hurry, you're gonna weave through them, and it'll be relatively easy because most people will be going the same rate, and it's a huge difference in rates that really get people. Like when people are braking and hitting the accelerator over and over again, that's when accidents can occur, and like you got to be smooth. As long as you're a smooth driver, it doesn't really matter if you're going a little bit fast. Like I honestly, I'm not being macho, but like it's not unheard of for you to push like 140 on a clear highway. Like it's just the car just goes depending on what kind of car you're driving, right? And I just think it's I think as long as people follow the rules of like left lane passing and right lane being a little bit slower, and it just works, I think. And it's like the free market, like it'll take care of itself if you set the limits high enough. It'll work. Like school zones, definitely, don't get me wrong, school zones, busy neighborhoods, those should all be 30 and 50. Like I completely agree with those, but some of the streets that have the 50 speed limit are actually like mini highways, like for instance, and it just pisses me off, for the lack of a better, like I don't know, it's so annoying. It's just like, why the hell is the speed limit 80 when everybody else and when everybody around me, cops included, are going 90 to 100? It just does not make sense to me. Why would you set the speed limit so low? It's not even a limit anymore. It becomes a suggestion at that point. At that point, you have to make the sign yellow and turn it into a suggestion. Which is, in case anybody doesn't know that, the yellow signs are actually suggestions. So, like, don't get me wrong, they're pretty good suggestions. They should be followed. But like, yeah, it's asinine. The suggestion should be set low, so that people slow down a little bit more. Because that makes sense to me, setting the suggestion excessively low. But like, oh, you missed it. Like, right now, I'm traveling over this bridge, and the speed limit is 50, and we're going 50 now, and it's rush hour, and we're going 50. So what does that tell you? I've been on this bridge during what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for? During a more free-flowing time, and when traffic's flowing here, people jet, and it just makes sense to me. Like, oh, buddy, who's this guy walking on the highway? It's kind of dangerous. Very dangerous, actually. And anyways, my video is gonna run out soon, and I just wanted to say that, like, that's just what I wanted to complain about, for the lack of a better word. Just, these speed limits are so dumb, like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't at all. Oh, here's a good speed limit, 80. This makes sense. And yeah, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me what the government and what the city is thinking. Of course, I know they do it for the money. Like, you see that. You ever notice that when cops are ticketing people, they hide out, and their reasoning behind it is they want to catch people and get them to go slower? Well, I would argue that if they were out in the open, people would go a lot slower, right? And I don't know. That's just a point I wanted to make, and I just think it's really stupid and asinine the hell our limits don't reflect our driving skill and our vehicles. Like, some of these speed limits were set in the 50s when our cars sucked, when the fuel economy was horrible, and when cars weren't that safe and people were not avid drivers, and it just doesn't make sense why we're still following the same speed limits. With this constant upgrading technology, we should be able to look at it objectively and kind of change. I don't know, that's my take on it. If you have anything to add or say, feel free to record and reply. I always look forward to seeing those.